right, what's going on, everybody? I am Eric Velasquez. I am interviewing every candidate. Who I'm reaching out to everyone. So that's what I'm doing today. And we have another candidate here. It's for our mayoral election. Let me go ahead and bring him on. Hey, what's going on, Greg?
Hey, Eric, how are you?
Good.
Thank you for the time. You and I were talking a couple minutes before that. I am in a far less designed studio look today out of the house this morning. Had some things thaw out that we need to work on at the house. So my normal podcasting look is a little different right now, but I appreciate the time and the flexibility to catch you today. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So let's jump into it. We have these elections coming up, right?
Mhm.
We have the motivation. We had the motivation for the presidential elections. How important? Just tell everybody, how important is it to start focusing on the city elections?
Well, look, I mean, the national elections get all the publicity and obviously, and rightfully so, especially this past November and the conflict in the country and all these things that were going on. So 100% understand that it's going to grab all of the attention. But what you need to know is whether it's federal level or state level, and we get involved oftentimes in senatorial races and gubernatorial type stuff, and that's very exciting and it draws out millions and millions of voters. But the true reality is what affects you most every day of your life is your local government. I'm going to give you a couple of examples.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could think of your day, and when I try to explain the importance, this is a perfect question to start talking about, because when I try to explain to people the importance of why your local government and your local vote matters, I tell them this. You interact with the city of San Antonio every minute of your day. So for instance, you're sleeping in bed at night, it's feeling a little hot, so you go over and you turn up the thermostat, or turn down the thermostat, right, to cool down the house a little bit. CPS Energy, you start using more energy in your home. Your rising cost of your energy bills are being affected by your comfortability in your home. We own CPS Energy, so parts of those dollars, about 23%, $325 million a year or so, we get from CPS Energy every year. We'll talk about CPS Energy here more in a little bit. Let's say you hop in the shower and you run that water and you keep running it 10 minutes before you get into the shower, and your water bill's a little higher that month. The water company is owned by the city of San Antonio. We own SAWS, and we get about 10, 14% of their revenue into our general fund budget as well. And then you get out, you get dressed, you hop in your car and you get on the roads. You're interacting with our public safety system, our San Antonio police officers, hopefully not that much. But, the traffic lights, you name it. You walk on a sidewalk, you're interacting. You go to a park, you're interacting with us. There's not a minute of your day that goes by that the city of San Antonio is not involved in your life. And I don't think we recognize it or think about it from a day-to-day. But that's what I always try to tell people. Your vote in a local election. And we learned that last week. I don't care if you lived in Stone Oak or you lived in Five Palms or you're over on the east side in Denver Heights. We were all affected as equally ridiculous last week. I mean, it was as difficult for all of us. And it didn't matter your income level, didn't matter your race, didn't matter your gender. None of that mattered. The city of San Antonio last week failed in such a miserable manner with CPS Energy and SAWS that all of us were affected. So every day of your life, every hour you're interacting. So your vote in a local election is as important as any vote you're ever going to make. And we're going to see that in May and every election after there. And it's abysmal that about 13, 12% of the city votes. And it's sad, but it's on elected officials to change that and get the trust back into government so that people say, my vote does matter when I go out there and I do need to vote. So we have to give them a reason to vote. We're always quick to tell citizens it's your fault. You're lazy and you don't go vote. Well, the truth is they don't believe in the government. They don't believe in City Hall, and that trust is broken, and they don't think their voice matters, so they don't vote. So to me, local politics is number one. That's why I'm running for mayor. That's why I've ran for city council. I've been on the council. And that's why, to me, it's the most important level of government we're ever going to interact with.
Definitely. And anybody watching, if you would like to come in and actually ask a question directly, please do so. I will post the link down below. And so that way you can just jump in. Please be civil. Just please be civil. I mean, Greg, I know you're used to it, but still,
I can't walk into a room and I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, it could be any vote I take in or any any express. I mean, it is what it is. People, I think, unfortunately, in politics, people thrive on the garbage of it, and it's a small percentage, but that's how people are. I mean, my faith keeps me grounded in exactly who I am and what I believe. Yeah, whatever. I mean, I'll answer anything. Not that big a deal.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I'm gonna do a challenge for you because I've heard you. I've heard you in with your campaign. I'm gonna challenge you to not include Ron's name into this conversation if you can. Just that way, so we could see your flexibility. All right,
I'm running for mayor. I mean, it's not this is a campaign of someone's job I'm trying to take. So it does tend to get mentioned in every sentence. But I know. I am asking people to fire him, so it's not an easy conversation, right? It is what it is.
So I want to know, what would be your first item of business that you would like to tackle as soon as you get in, if you were to get elected?
My platform is really straightforward, and I think now more than ever we need a back to basics approach to government. But look, and I'm running on 4 pillars, right? And so the one is, and I've already put this out there, we put out a massive small business jobs recovery plan. And we said, look, we're going to be the jobs mayor. Our focus is going to be on putting people back to work so that they make more money and they keep more of the money they make. We cannot live in a community that's created roughly 10 or 15,000 jobs over the last 3 or 4 years. It's unacceptable. We've lost 150,000 jobs on average here over the last year and a half, COVID related. We saw what happened last week with our job loss and our community falling apart at basic levels. So for me, it's about being the jobs mayor, being jobs oriented and making sure that we fight for every job everywhere in this country to come to San Antonio to do the work. And you have to have a passion about it, man, that you just can't walk in there and sit and tell it, I think we need to have as many jobs as we possibly can, and it's going to be great. No, man, you got to believe in San Antonio, and you got to get out there and sell it in partnership with the business community, in partnership with the council members. You got to go to work every day with a mentality that I'm not a job snob. Any job we can bring to this community is $1 extra in someone's pocket. And then we have to make sure they get to keep more of that money that they earn. So the jobs mayor is my number one focus right off the top. Second is going to be public safety, because we do have a ballot initiative where they're attempting to revoke our police officer contract, which will lead to the defunding and the loss of police officers in the city of San Antonio. Public safety overall has always been the first job of any public officials, to protect the community and keep it safe. So we're going to get heavily involved in public safety and a conversation on law enforcement and taking care of families, and then cleaning up City Hall, which is a total train wreck. But one of the first things I'm going to do, one of the first thing I'm going to do when I get to City Hall is sit down with the other 10 members of the team, right? The 10 council members, and say, look, we're a cohesive team and unit, period. We may disagree mightily on items up and down, right? You name it, based on your political beliefs, your faith, whatever it is that drives your decision-making as an elected official. But what I'm going to do, you have to build a team at City Hall. I've worked at City Hall as a chief of staff. I've been there as a constituent services manager. I spent years over the last 10 off and on down there, understanding the nuts and bolts. If you're going to run to be the mayor of San Antonio, you just can't raise your hand all of a sudden and say, yeah, I think I want to be mayor today. Like you have to understand the job you are applying for, that you're asking for, and show the depth and expertise on how these things work, so that you can, not that you're part of the machine, but that you can go in there and change the machine. So what I'm going to do is, first step is, each council member, we have to be a part of it and work together. What we've seen from administrations, there you go, I didn't name anybody, but what we see from administrations is a go it alone attitude, that you can't, there's not any partnership. And I'll go back and point to Phil Hardberger. Let's take Phil Hardberger. Maybe you didn't like his politics. I didn't, some things that, whatever. One of the hallmarks of Phil Hardberger's mayoral tenure was council members a part of the process, council members with him, council members taking the lead, so that the entire team worked together. It's not that Phil Hardberger agreed with everybody else on the council all the time, or that they were in lockstep. It's just that the team represents all of us. So we are broken at City Hall. It's not a fun place to be anymore with the politics and the division. So first day in is all of us, all 11 of us together. What kind of council and team are we going to be? How are we going to disagree? How are we going to handle conflict? And then we're going to each divvy up these plans and ideas of things we want to do and help each individual district, all 10, be successful. And that's the job of a leader. The job of the leader is not to walk on TV every day and be flying solo. The job is to build the team and unit and then share the success, share the opportunities, but also share the accountability. And that's probably, look, day one, man, that's all 11 of us getting together to figure out, not that we're going in lockstep and we're going to follow each other off the cliff. No, it's just like, these are the ground rules, and here's the mayor I'm going to be for you individually as a council member. And I think that's a huge change to put a teamwork mentality in it. The votes will fall where they may. Don't get me wrong. People will vote as they do, and the vote rules at the end of the day. And I may not always win, but that's okay too, right? That's why we have 11 people. And I think that would be, honestly, right into day one, is build a team mentality, not a team in followership, but a team in, this is how we're going to disagree, and this is how we're going to fight for San Antonio.
Yeah, definitely. In unity. We have somebody here. Ananda, hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, good. Go ahead and ask whatever questions you may have.
Yeah, I wanted to focus on the last debate that I saw you on, Greg, where it seemed like it was very one-sided. There weren't sides from both, like, right, for the ballot initiative. There's one side there. And I'm wondering if you are open to being on a debate or trying to make sure that when you're going to debates or any future events that they are fully transparent with both sides. I know you did not organize this interview, right? This debate. So there, I will give you some credit there. But as somebody who touts transparency, I feel like this is something that I have not seen yet, where you have let one side of a ballot initiative or certain types of candidates onto your show or at a debate, but not the other side. So I just wanted to hear your response on that.
No, it's Ananda, right? I don't have my glasses on. I'm sorry.
No, you said it perfect.
I'm at the house right now, and I'm not. Yeah, okay. There we go. There we go. The glasses make my head look incredibly large on the screen. I'm sorry. Look, fair point up front. I did not organize that debate. There were some people in the community felt, well, wow, he's streaming it. It must be his debate. I have a Facebook page, and I streamed it, and I asked for permission for it because I want citizens to see what I'm saying. Plus, I want them to see the other people that I'm debating, right? Like, I feel like I'm far more qualified than the other folks on that stage. So I want people to see that. I want to be hired for the job. So I streamed it. Yeah. Champions Coalition hosted it. They drafted the questions all on their own. Frankly, I felt like some of the questions really didn't apply to San Antonio, but I show up anywhere, and I'll show up to any group or any organization. The previous forum I was at the Northeast Bexar County Democrats, not a place where I was going to get endorsed. 100% understand that. They didn't endorse me last time, but I go in there, and if they say, hey, we love the climate action plan, I'm going to tell them, well, I have a few concerns. Like, you're going to always get what I believe in the policy going forward. But I would tell you this, if you go back, and so I have a podcast, and I like to have fun talking politics, and I let it fly. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I tell people exactly what I think. I've brought Fix SAPD on there. Well, not Fix SAPD, excuse me, Reliable Revolutionaries, Pharaoh Clark. We've invited the Black Lives Matter organizations. I've accepted a forum to go to, oh my goodness, the factory. Black Freedom Factory. Black Freedom Factory. Oh my God, totally drew a blank. I'm sorry. I got you. I've accepted that one as well. When I go to these things, I don't know the format. I don't know the questions, but this I'll tell you, I go to every room. And you have to, if you get the job, you're a mayor for everybody. So to not show up is utterly ridiculous and unacceptable. And to not debate the facts is unacceptable. But I go and I talk to everybody. And I will not stop. So if somebody has a competing view to mine, like one of the things, if you watch that debate, you'll hear I push back on some of these issues with Fix SAPD. I said, well, look, I believe the contract needs to stay in place and we need to defeat their petition. However, they have a seat at the table because they are right in their concerns, right? They have concerns about police officer accountability. They have concerns about recidivism. They have concerns about people of color in our jail system. All those things matter. And to just say, well, I'm going to beat back your contract and you're going to lose, and therefore you don't have a seat at the table, that's wrong. So commitment one for me is everybody I'll talk to. Yeah.
But I do feel like you haven't given Fix SAPD a seat at the table. And I feel like in a forum like that, you still have the ability to say they deserve a seat at the table and they should be here. And I also think that you personally, with a show and a following as your own, right? Because you do have a following, should be inviting these important players as well to your own show, hosting your own debates, or continuing this narrative of this is unfair, that only one side is being presented. And so I would challenge you to send out an invitation to Fix SAPD to have this conversation with you, because I frankly don't think that you have all the facts.
I do have, I have my facts that I consider the most important in the debate.
Correct.
And when I brought those organizations on, it wasn't Fix SAPD because they really weren't as fully organized at that time. So it was Jordan Parks, Pharaoh Clark, Antonio Lee. So I've brought competing and completely opposite views onto my podcast before. And I thought the discussions were great. I mean, and you can ask Jordan, Pharaoh, and Antonio, hey, how did he treat you? And they'll say, man, that guy treated us with respect. We broke bread afterwards. We sat down and talked further about things. So look, great question. It's a great challenge. I'll take it to heart. I hear you loud and clear. And yeah, I mean, Fix SAPD, look, I disagree with what they're doing. And I'll tell people why real quick. It's because it's not a zero-sum game. It's not a one or the other. I believe people have been sold a false choice. The choice is you either support these initiatives or you're with the police officers 100%. It's either no contract at all, or it's not a decision.
That's not true. That's not true whatsoever. Fix SAPD has always touted that they are for accountability for good officers and citizens. There will still be a contract. It's simply moving.
There won't be a contract.
To meet and confer. I can debate this all day with you.
Let me just. And maybe you should come on. Join me. I would love for you to join me, and we'll have a conversation about it. Because once you eliminate Chapter 174, the police contract is gone. There is no meet and confer. It doesn't go to anything. It's done. It's eliminated. And that's my concern. That's a fact, Ananda, you have to concede. If it were to pass, contract is gone. There is no meet and confer.
There is. That's what Chapter 143 is. Chapter 143 is a meet and confer law. So what you have is repeal Chapter 174. Your benefits, your wages, everything freezes until the new contract is rewritten under Chapter 143, which is still meet and confer, which is what Austin negotiates under, which is what Houston negotiates under. Chapter 143. That's where those contracts come from.
Yeah. Now, and in your own answer, you just admitted that the elimination of 174 is the removal of the police contract. So, look.
It is. I believe writing a new contract under 143.
They will not have a contract if we vote it down. Right? You eliminate it, there won't be a contract. So look, I mean, I love the debate and the questions, and I take your feedback to heart, because the truth is, I don't think it's one or the other. I think what you've done is you forced a division in the community on a public safety vote. And what you're saying is we have to get rid of the entire contract. If you don't, then you don't agree with the systemic problems in the police department and the fact that we need to hold police officers accountable. You can keep the contract in place and hold police officers accountable. You can do both. You could do both.
There will still be a contract under 143. But what I'm saying is that a police contract that has been full of an accountability, and frankly, a police union who has taken inaction on discipline and police accountability for decades, for years now, is forcing the hand of the public to take action, because we no longer want to have 70% of fired officers being returned to the force. Some of them multiple times.
That's not true. She brings up great points. And
right. And I think that we'll definitely.
But I don't want Ananda. Hold on, Eric. I don't want Ananda to leave thinking that I don't hear her. I mean, I'm listening to you. And we do have to have the discussion, the conversation. So this is my commitment to you. I'll make sure that if I'm attending forums and the Police Officers Association, I don't create the forum rules, but I hear you loud and clear. So my commitment to you is, look, I'm asking to be your mayor, right? So I have to listen to you. This isn't, I'm not my opponent who chooses not to show up to Republican sponsored debate last night. That's what happened, right? Or Tuesday night. The mayor chose to ignore a conservative minded debate. He just did not show up. So at the very least, I will show up. And here's the thing I will do. If I go to a debate from here on out, and if I know that SAPOA is going to be present, they're going to be talking about the contract, my commitment to you is I'll mention, will there be fair or equal time for Fix SAPD? I will ask that because I think it's fair for you to have competing time, 100%. I'm asking for competing time with the mayor. I'm saying, Mayor, Ron Nuremberg, show up, right? Be there so we can debate the issue. So my commitment to you, point one, because that was your first point, is yes, I agree with you. They should be there. If SAPOA has a chance to present, so should Fix SAPD. So I'll make that commitment to you. Second point, I'd love to sit down and talk with y'all as long as we have a good fair, and I know we would, right? That we have some commitments that, hey, look, this is going to turn into us talking about the facts and issues and laying a case out. So I'll work on that as well, and maybe we can connect if you can help me with that. My number, Ananda, is 210-973-0591. So that's my cell phone. Text me information, contact stuff. Maybe we can connect and work something up to sit down and have a conversation about it. Not SAPOA, but me and Fix SAPD.
Definitely. Can I take the last part of that phone number again? I was pulling up my phone.
Sorry, 210-973-0591.
Cool. Thank you.
And I want you to leave knowing that your points are valid. And while we disagree on the path to police officer accountability, and we're going to disagree on a vote on May 1st, doesn't mean that if I'm elected mayor, you and I aren't going to sit down. We're going to talk about how we reduce the prison population in San Antonio, how we insert recidivism rates, how we clean up a magistration process where we treat people like human cattle, right? They go into Bexar County, how we enhance and work on our cite and release programs, how we help people of color find better way. We're going to have those conversations. And I think we learn that is if we sit down and we talk about the police contract, but I just don't want to talk about just the police contract. We can take time on that, but we need to talk about these other pieces on how we help people in our community avoid a jail system that's solely focused on keeping people in prison to make money. So if you're willing to have those conversations, I think we'll have a good talk and it'll be fair, and just connect me and let's go there. I don't have any problem with it, but I appreciate your time. I really do.
Yes. Thank you for your time, Greg and Eric. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
That's a good one. Good.
Sure.
I like that, man. I like it.
All right. We have Zach. Hey, Zach from SA Talk Podcast. What's going on?
How's it going? Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I got you, man.
All right. So I'll just be honest with you, Greg. I'm going to make this a quick question. I don't intend to go back and forth. Probably won't have a follow-up question, but it will, in my opinion, kind of build off of Ananda's question. It's not so much on the contract for SAPD. It's more of just a general question as to, and I think you were kind of alluding to it at the end there. What is your vision for police reform? I understand clearly that you don't agree, with getting rid of the way the process. But what is your vision for police reform in San Antonio?
Great question, Zach, and I appreciate it. And I was kind of alluding to it there at the end. And we're going to put out a public safety set of platform and ideas that we think what public safety should be in San Antonio. So point one is, obviously, I'm going to work against the Fix SAPD petition because I don't believe we should get rid of the police contract. I think it offers so many benefits that it's dangerous. So that is pretty clear in my position, and that's not going to change. But the larger point becomes, and the city of San Antonio and SAPD Chief McManus and SAPOA have actually worked on the Can't Wait 8 already. So there was 8 pieces of legislation or police practice and policy that required a greater level of restraint or different policies with regards to chase or utilization of no-knock warrants. All those things have been worked on by Chief McManus. So some of those points and pieces and basic things we'll continue pushing and making sure that items like the Can't Wait 8 stay in action and are not repealed or revoked or anything at all. But there becomes this bigger conversation about what public safety means in San Antonio. So one of the few, there's 2 sides to it, Zach. There's the side that SAPD interacts with the human being. And then there's the side of once you enter the system, right? Because public safety isn't just the fact that the police officer pulls you over or you get arrested. It's not just that part. There's this entire other piece to public safety that begins with the magistration process, with the Bexar County jail system, with the judicial system itself, with the bail system. SAPD is about 10% of the entire social justice piece, right? When it comes to imprisonment and the legal system itself. SAPD is just the funnel. It's the top part, the beginning piece. So from my perspective of SAPD, one of the things we need to learn, right? And SAPD has a massive countrywide, United States, world renowned almost at this point, mental health initiative with their crisis response team. So what you have to do initially, one of the things we would want to focus on is obviously expanding the CRT, the crisis response teams, to get mental health issues routed appropriately through so that police officers are making their time on the right calls. I don't have any problem having that conversation. I think you have to expand those items every day that we can figure out how we have more crisis response officers, more mental health training, so we can get that out of the system and police officers are making the right calls. Police officers, they want that. From an accountability perspective, I'd like where SAPOA's accountability is and how it works. The truth is only 10 people have been reinstated by an arbitrator over the last 10 years. There are several that are reinstated by the police chief himself and get their jobs back for a myriad of reasons. But some things I think potentially we should have hard conversations about. And look, everybody knows I support the police officers and the police officers support me. But like, for instance, examining their records over a period of their career, we have to, number one, understand, okay, what are the facts and how is the contract written so that we can review how long we can review a police officer's contract. I think that, you know what, we have to be able to look at an entire police officer's history to make a disciplined decision. Like, those are things we need to examine and take a look at as well. How does that work within the confines of the contract? So from a police discipline perspective, I think we have to have the hard talk about, okay, how has this police officer acted over their entire career? And I don't have a problem with the arbitration process. I'd leave that in place. It is a third-party choice. By the way, the city chooses an arbitrator, SAPOA chooses one. Those two people then choose a final arbitrator. So it is a very clean process, but the city's not very good. People get reinstated or arbitration cases fail for the city because the city attorneys are the ones not doing an exceptional job in accountability. It's not all on the contract. So I think we got to review police officer records. I think we have to work hard to make sure we divert mental health resources, training in the 911 system and better accountability and tactics so that when the 911 calls in, we're routing them appropriately. Tracking information and data, by the way, matters too. But we have to have a conversation about the magistration process and how it works with the county. I've seen it. I've been in there. I've watched it. We treat people like cattle in the magistration process, and the Bexar County jail system is overloaded, and people in the system are treated with disrespect. So we also have to have this conversation about how we reduce the prison population. And that means oftentimes focusing on recidivism issues, turning around and saying, hey, how do we cite and release certain opportunities here? What does a cash bail system look like? How do we configure and make sure that people aren't getting their lives ruined from a public safety perspective because they had a joint in the ashtray, right? Like, there are things we have to really have hard conversations about, but that's where I would focus on public safety. I don't think the system, frankly, Zach, needs a lot of change. And I disagree with throwing out the entire contract to make that change happen. What I do say is I think the city has failed us because they have not had the hard conversations, and they're worth having. So for me, minor changes maybe for the folks who collected the petitions, but for me, those are monumental. I do believe, though, that these should be negotiated within the confines of the contract. They shouldn't be negotiated in the media. They're not negotiated on the steps of City Hall. We sit down with the police officers union and we say, hey, look, this is where we're at. I do believe people want reform within the police department, and that's fine. They want bad cops gone. We all agree on that. We just disagree mightily on the process that's going to get there. And my prediction is pretty clean. I mean, that petition on May 1st is going to fall 60, I would almost say nearly 70% of the city is going to vote against it. So we're going to learn loud and clear where San Antonio stands on public safety reform when that ballot initiative fails on May 1st. But that doesn't mean we can't do better and fix some of these issues. I'm not so concerned about the SAPD side because I think they're one of the finest departments in the country. What concerns me is after they get into the system how we're treating people with disrespect. There is no restorative justice in San Antonio. We just throw them into the system and they disappear into Javier Salazar's jail. And that's a broken process that's disrespectful, and then we got to do better in, and we're going to have to step up to the plate.
But then you're talking about Bexar County Sheriff's Department, though. I mean, it's a different entity.
Yeah, I know, but we're going to go to work on that. If we're feeding that pipeline of activity, and we can't sit idly by while the jail treats people and the magistration process treats people with disrespect, how it's not invested in appropriately. And we got to step up to that plate. A poorly managed jail, which is what we have. We have one of the most infamously poorly managed jails in the country. It's a broken process, and the leadership is terrible in the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. So we have to step up to the plate. And that means we have to stand up for our citizens. Our citizens, if I'm the mayor of San Antonio, I'm the mayor of every person in that jail system. And I'm a mayor for those deputies too. It is a morale broken jail system. The treatment of its citizens in there is terrible. When you go through the magistration process, people are treated terribly. So we have to stand up for our citizens and tell Bexar County, you're going to clean up your process. You're going to treat people and your deputies with respect, because those are our citizens. And that's a tough conversation I can't wait to have with Javier Salazar.
Well, I appreciate that, Greg, for you explaining that. I and Eric for letting us come on and ask the questions. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. So are you able to see the comments as well? Or
Well, man, I got to put my glasses on. Where are the comments at here? Let's see.
It should be over on the side, I believe.
I see. Oh, hello. No.
There's a bunch. But I know a couple people have already asked them the questions, but
no, but I'm not eyeballing county judge. No, man, not gonna happen. But I mean, look, Ananda brings out good questions. Let's see. Hey, Josie Garcia, we need a leader who's willing to listen to all citizens. And Josie's right. I agree with Josie 100%. It's not scare tactics that I'm spreading. That's absolutely not true. I'm going to spread. What I'm going to spread is what we call facts. So, and the facts are pretty simple. And we'll get in that discussion when it comes time on the public safety issue. But look, what unfortunately what Fix SAPD is going to learn is that they've put a choice out there on this ballot initiative. And by putting the choice out there, it has divided the community. And what they're going to learn is that the community overwhelmingly supports the San Antonio Police Department. I am certain of that. And this will be a top issue in the campaign going into May 1st into early vote. The Fix SAPD petition will fail, and will fail miserably, because the citizens are going to rise up and say, yeah, that's not going to happen in San Antonio. The problems of other cities are not the problems in San Antonio. That's not to say we don't have problems here. Can we get better at, and these are great questions, can we get better at police officer accountability within the confines of the current contract? Yes, we can. Do we need to see a police officer's entire record to make sure we're basing decisions and discipline on a whole person concept? Yes, we can. We should have those conversations within the contract at the negotiating table. We have the finest police department in the nation. The men and women of SAPD are fantastic. And we are talking about, Eric, 0.001% of bad police officers. Now, you can turn around and say, well, we should have 0 bad police officers. I'm sorry. That is an unattainable goal. But if you're talking about over the last 10 years, there's been 5,000 different police officers come in and out of the police department, different faces. And we're talking about 10 people over 10 years. That is by the Express News' data and information. 10 people over 10 years, 5,000 people. You do the math. It's ridiculously infinitesimal, the amount of people we're talking about who we want to therefore throw the entire contract out because of 10 souls. Well, not going to happen. And the ballot box will determine it. So this is my challenge to Fix SAPD. After they lose the vote on May 1st, which they're going to, how do we still address their concerns and bring them to the table and make sure we can fix those things that are important to people in our community? Because while I believe them to be a small percentage that want that level of change, eliminating an entire contract, that's a very small percentage. their concerns are valid. And I think we need to find ways to help make that happen. But look, I look forward, in case you can't notice, Eric, I look forward to the vote. Like, there's nothing wrong with collecting a petition. Go do it, man. Petition anything you want. Put it to a public vote. Doesn't mean it's going to pass, but you can get out there and do it. I've done petitions in the past myself. So it's a tough conversation, and you stand for a public vote on it. And I appreciate that. They have every right to petition and do this. It's not going to pass. So, and I think it's a worthy conversation. Let's make sure.
Well, and I think too, though, is we have to look at it from a perspective of not just completely just discounting it, though. You have to just be humble about saying that, look, they have this initiative, and I really don't feel like it's going to pass. But I think you shouldn't just completely just discount it in a sense. You know what I mean?
I'm only discounting the vote, and I'll be very clear. Let's be very clear, because I've said this like 3 or 4 times, Eric. They're going to lose at the ballot box all day long, but that doesn't mean that the concerns and issues they have do not need to be addressed. So my commitment to everybody who believes in the petition is that my commitment is this: after the defeat at the ballot box on May 1st. You will, as I'm your mayor, we will sit down immediately and talk about the items you want to work on. The problem is that the answer they gave, which is eliminating the contract, Eric, is so extreme that San Antonio's not there. Like, San Antonio's just not there. So, and I've worked in politics. I've block walked in every district in this city. I've almost literally every neighborhood over the last 15 years. I understand how this community works from a political standpoint, and they love and support the San Antonio Police Department. So while it will fail at the ballot box, it doesn't mean that as mayor, I'm going to ignore their concerns. So 100% commitment that I will listen to them. They will sit down. We'll sit down together and go over these items and figure out how we can make them happen. Their concerns are valid. It's just not going to pass as a ballot initiative. That's the problem, is the ballot is not what San Antonio wants to eliminate the contract. Their concerns,
right?
Sure, people believe that them to be valid. Somebody asked right here, do you think fixed SAPD is a horrible precedent for taking the power away from employees to unionize? John, this is what's odd to me. He brings up a great point. So Democrats have always been the party of unions. This is an effect to remove collective bargaining, is removing unionization rights. So fixed SAPD and police officers, they're at odds on the piece, fine. But the SAPOA is a union. It's a family. They bargain and negotiate together. Those are the basic tenets of unionization. That's why the AFL-CIO has come out in opposition of fixed SAPD. That speaks volumes about removing collective bargaining rights and taking them away eliminates union practices that have been core democratic tenets. I'm pro-union, so I don't mind. I don't mind unions. I've had family members as unions. My wife was a member of the teachers union when she was at Northside. I appreciate unions. I support SAPOA, the fire union. I don't have any problem working and operating and partnering with unions. I am a union family. So you are, though, with the fixed SAPD petition, eliminating it. And it speaks volumes that the AFL-CIO will not support fixed SAPD.
And this is the local government code that everybody has been talking about. It's Chapter 174. There are several items on this code. So if you want to look into it and see what is it entailing, what are the words for it, and everything, you can look at it. It's Local Government Code Chapter 174. My goal is to really have SAPOA and fixed SAPD together in the same room to be able to talk about, both of these sides, because I think the public is confused. And there's a lot of back and forth, and there's something that we need to just kind of figure out what is actually happening, because I think there's a lot of confusion surrounding.
Well, the problem is this is now turned into a public vote, right? So it's going to turn into a political campaign. This is a problem now. And both sides are going to wage a political campaign to make it happen. And I have friends and people I respect on the other side with Fix SAPD. I mean, I won't name them because I don't want them to get attacked in the future. But I've got very good friends working on the side of Fix SAPD. And I tell them, I say, hey, look, we don't agree on the path. We don't agree on how it gets there. And unfortunately, now that it's into a political campaign, it's going to turn into sound bites and all this other stuff. So we're going to have to deal with that through May 1st. Political campaigns are never fun. It's like it's a difficult challenge every day, and you're working on talking points. You're doing all this stuff. So we're going to lose a lot in the debate because we're simply going to try to message and win on May 1st. So that's why I'm just disappointed in how this went through and how it's going to end up. But I do believe on May 1st, we have a vote. And then on May 2nd, we have a conversation with the new mayor and new council about, okay, how do we enact the things that Fix SAPD has care and concern about? And look, whether you want to say it, these things will get talked about. One side's going to say it's defunding. The other side's going to say it's not. One side's going to say we're great at what we do as police officers. The other side's going to say you're systemically broken. It's going to be a wild, polar opposite conversation. The truth is the decision is somewhere in the middle, right? I mean, the truth is somewhere in between both of those. But I think the public won't take the extreme measure to remove the contract. And I think that's going to be an easy win for the police officers union. But it's not a good win for the community because we're not having a real dialogue and discussion. And it's going to be hard to learn the facts because both sides, Eric, I tell you, man.
Oh, I know.
It's going to be complete opposites. One's going to be this way and the other's going to be over here. But Ananda's absolutely right. There should be equal time. So,
and I'm hoping, which I've talked to both sides, and they're willing to come together, and they're willing to let me interview them. So, hopefully, we can have that happen. Because that needs to be done. That'd be.
So let's see what other. Oh yeah, let's see what other comments are. Odd that SAPOA received better benefits than fire. Well, so Phil. They receive better benefits because they negotiate separate contracts, and it seems it is not often covered that SAPOA let firefighters the crumbs. That's not how it works, Phil. Fire and police negotiate separately, plus they have different needs in their contracts. Police officers care more about certain aspects of their employment contract than a firefighter. So for instance, firefighters care greatly about, they're more concerned about their health care and cancer and other things. So Phil, they negotiate separately. They don't partner. They don't talk about a joint contract. None of that happens. They have different, police officers operate differently than firefighters in mentality and mindset and what happens in their contract. So it's not that SAPOA left fire crumbs. That's not how it works. One always goes after the other. It's usually PD first and then fire. So it's not really, that's not how it operates. It's not leaving anybody crumbs. They're just negotiated separately. And fire took several more years in negotiating a contract. That was their choice. And they held the petition themselves. They ran the Go Vote No, the ABC campaign a couple years back. And they had a different game plan than SAPOA. Neither game plan is right or wrong. It's how they feel for their membership. So Phil's a little off on that one. And then Phil mentions Greg works with Doable, Rasul, and Brielle. That's not true. Phil, I mean, I'm just going to be point blank with you, man. I know Rasul and Brielle, they're on the other side of the issue. We disagree on this mightily. Neither of them have endorsed me. They're not working with me. They're not on my campaign. That is misinformation. In fact, he's already said, I ain't voting for Greg Brockhouse. I mean, I don't know how more you can get. But this, I'll tell you, I think it does speak volumes that Mohammed and myself, we do have conversations. I mean, we know each other. And we respect our differing views and opinions. And I don't have any problem with what he believes. I just believe something different. But I respect Mohammed and Brielle. But I can tell you this right now. They've already told me, you know what, Greg, they're not voting for Ron Nirenberg. They've said that. They've also said they're not voting for Greg Brockhouse. So, that is absolutely false. I do not work with Brielle and Rasul. And to say so is not true.
If anybody wants to jump in, I've left the link in the comment section. If you want to jump in and directly ask the question yourself, you can do that. Albert
Haley Marie says, I get what you're saying, Greg, about San Antonio might not be there yet. but the arguments you're making lack depth, and it's disappointing to see someone. Hey, good, that's fine, Haley, but the reasons there's not much depth to this argument. San Antonio will vote down the fixed SAPD contract, and it's not going to happen. It's just it's not. They're not going to win. I mean, so the depth is we have a fantastic police department. They do great work. We can get better on the edges, and we can get better at getting rid of bad cops, 100%. But to me, the question and debate is very simple. And then we have once the ballot initiative fails, we do have to figure out how we address the concerns that are in there. Doable is fixed SAPD. Phil, again, I'm not working with Doable. They're not supporting me. Greg isn't talking to actual firefighters. That's the sentiment. No, I do talk to firefighters. In fact, they've been supportive of me in my political work for years. How does Greg feel about CPS and the way they handle the freeze? So, look, these are great questions. Obviously, people disagree with me on the and I don't, but I don't mind taking the tough questions, and people can have their comments and obviously tell me exactly what they think, because I show up, right? Like, that's the difference between me and my opponent, is that I show up into rooms that aren't always going to be comfortable for me, because the mayor is the mayor for everybody. My sentiments on last week's freeze, I think City Hall failed miserably. I think the lack of preparedness was just unacceptable. Just one quick example, no plan for the homeless, no plan for the streets to make sure that the de-icing agents and gravel was present. No warming stations stood up. The current mayor was nowhere to be found for several days. It popped up a couple times on Facebook. No leadership. There's a couple council members out there. Roberto Trevino was everywhere. I saw Roberto Trevino out there, Rebecca Villagran, Tommy Calvert, Teta Rodriguez. There's a lot of people out there hustling. But for the most part, City Hall silent before what was going to be an epic breakdown. CPS Energy failed. I think the accountability needs to go all the way to top for CPS Energy and for SAWS. The lack of preparedness for a loss in electrical grid work. It wasn't ERCOT, folks. And the mayor and these people can try to blame ERCOT all they want. At the end of the day, the rolling blackout decisions and those processes were made by CPS Energy. That is fact. So I think CPS Energy failed us miserably. And then their explanations since then have been, frankly, really bad.
Well, I think the really, and it wasn't funny because of this, everything that was going, but where they were caught was when they were interviewing them and saying that the CPS building had their lights shut off, and that they were showing a live view of the city building, the CPS building. They were bright.
It's comically bad. I mean, it's ridiculous. And here's the thing too, is what we're going to learn over time. And there's tough questions that need to be made. Like, why I was out delivering food during the entire storm. Parts of our town, like the west side of Zarzamora and Brady and around the Lincoln Courts and places like that, just completely pitch black for hours upon hours. Nothing. I got up to the rim at 1604 and I-10, was lit up like a Christmas tree. Like, it's completely, we need to find out who made the decisions, why they made those decisions, and who got their power turned off or on, and in what manner. I think we're going to learn it was a decision made by somebody, and just taking care of whoever they wanted to take care of. It was a completely broke process. The fact that we ran out of water, right, because CPS Energy turned off electrical power to the pumping stations. My question to SAWS would be, why didn't you have backup generators present? Like, I don't understand how you would not. You only have one source of that. You have no fallback plan. So accountability, I think, and Phil mentions here, why is Clayton Perry an investigation committee if he hasn't attended any of the CPS board meetings or sent a rep? Nobody on that, from what I can tell, Phil, I don't know why you singled out Clayton, but nobody's attended the CPS board meetings or sent a rep. I mean, Henry Cisneros is on there, Reed Williams, Ana Sandoval. I'm not sure they're attending and hanging out at CPS board meetings. Clayton Perry represents a community. He's a city councilman. I have no problem with him being on there. Frankly, I don't know why we picked a lot of council members to investigate themselves. I mean, that's pretty dumb to me. I wouldn't, no offense to the council members, but City Hall needs to be held accountable. Like, why would you put council members in charge of checking yourself or checking the mayor. That makes no sense. Or former council members, or Henry Cisneros. Why is Henry Cisneros on there? Like, this is somebody that frankly is responsible for a lot of the problems we have in our city right now. Over the last 40 years, these same people are running the machine and building our city. And it's always the same faces we see fixing these problems. It's not good enough. At some point, people are going to recognize we're always asking the same people to fix the problems they created. So, I think I do agree there's problems with that. Let's see here. Josie's asking again, same question about BLM organizers and bringing them on. Had you been mayor, would you have been willing to raise your fist in solidarity with the Black Indigenous people of color? Look, I mean, raising a fist is not a marker of support, in my opinion. I think you have to be honest with the fact that that city council, just take Josie, this is an example, take their actions that day. Then you turn around and you see nobody supporting them in actual works. Like so when they called on them and said, hey, put your fist in the air if you're with us, none of those council members have really followed up. I mean, a couple have, but they haven't followed up with any tangible work. It's not enough. It's like saying, oh, I go march in a parade, so therefore I'm with you. These basic sentiments, while they may feel good in the moment and you may be able to quantify who's with you or not with you, the truth is, they then turn around and do nothing to support your cause. They they calm you down by putting their fist in the air. And in reality, what are they really doing on the other side? The truth is nothing. They didn't do it. It was just for them in the moment. Not going to say publicity piece, but they're not, if they don't show any tangible action, Josie, behind it, then you have to believe, right, that it was just a publicity stunt. It was a moment in time that they recognize, well, I'm just going to do this right now, but I'm not going to do anything going forward in the future to actually help BLM or fix SAPD. They didn't. There's no heavy lifting, no work done, none of it. These council members put their fist in the air and they've turned around and gone silent on most of them. I mean, look, Roberto Trevino, I'll mention him again. I mean, he's been out there and said he's got problems with the police contract, but for the most part, these council members really did a basic action in the moment with no tangible works, process, investigation, nothing. So they appeased the moment and lacked the leadership after the fact. Just my thought.
And with that, I want to get your take on the homeless situation and what would you like to see being done differently than what's being done or not being done right now?
Well, the homeless piece, and I have a long-standing history of homeless community support. I've championed it while I was on council. I've helped my record is clear on the homeless initiative. I think we're broken in San Antonio on our homeless population, and the answer to that, Haven for Hope, and the millions it's receiving is simply not getting the job done. I think we've lost partnership with the faith-based community in our nonprofit world. I think we overtax and overregulate people who want to help. Homeless people are citizens, and we treat them as if, again, another treatment like they're cattle, and they lack human dignity. And that's just simply look at the city's policy. We had the winter freeze on February 14th. We knew it. City didn't have one warming shelter set up for a homeless community. Abysmal, wrong, and it lacks in basic human faith and dignity. So I think you have to completely reevaluate and revamp Haven for Hope. I think you have to work with organizations like Life Restored Church and Pastor Gavin Rogers and Travis Park, all these places. You have to reevaluate an entire program on how you help it. And yeah, we can get into the dollars and the funding piece, and tens of millions of dollars go to homeless outreach. But take, for instance, cleaning out people underneath I-35 or I-37, right? And you go in there and you eliminate 85 souls from underneath the bridge. And in turn, you have no plan for where they're going to go. And the city says, well, we tried. I mean, we tried, but they don't want to take the help. Well, you know why they don't want to take the help? They don't trust City Hall. They don't trust the government. They don't want to get stuck into a place where they're not treated like human beings. And I've heard elected officials and other people say, well, you know what? They're drug users and addicts. I'm sorry. I don't buy that crap any day of the week. A homeless person is not enjoying their homeless life. There's mental health issues there. There's drug addiction issues. There's problems so deep that to simply say, well, they wouldn't take the help, so they just like being on the street. It's not going to happen. So I think you have to stand up an entire new homeless review process and I think Haven for Hope needs to be put to task and the dollars need to be reevaluated. Then we need to work with the experts. And I've said this a lot. City Hall often gets involved in things they have no business being in. And sometimes they're not experts in it. The homeless initiative is one of it. Now, we hold the purse strings, but we should partner with these organizations. And I think, look, at any point in time, we have about 2,800 to 3,000 known people on the streets in a point in time count. Usually once a year we do this. It's broken. I think there's far more than that. And we have to have this conversation of who is near homeless. It's not enough just to say, I'm going to try to get homeless people off the street. You have to turn off the pipeline of people about to be homeless. And that means,
I mean, it starts with the property taxes. The property taxes is the biggest thing that is pushing people out of their homes. So what do you think? Do you think you can do anything with it?
I'm going to power up, brother. So you want to make sure I get a few more minutes of people letting me have it. I love it. I think your podcast is zapping every bit of power I have. Hold on. I'm back. All right, I'm back at it.
But yeah, so what would you like to see done with the property tax issue? Because it's getting out of hand. It's been getting out of hand. And people are frustrated. That is the number one thing. When I was campaigning last year, that was one of the biggest things, the biggest problems that people had was their property taxes. I mean, it's always like that. But.
Well, I mean, look, the property tax system is broken out of control. And if we don't stand up for it, that's a Texas statewide issue. We're going to have to, man, that fight that's an Austin fight. Tax appraisers have huge latitude. They don't work for the city council. In fact, we call them the Bexar County Appraisal District, but they're not operated by Bexar County. So we have to be very careful, but it's going to require a massive legislative push to make changes in there. But there are things we can do right off the bat. So for instance, the freezing of property taxes matters for people. We do it for seniors and other folks. But the city has a long history over the last, probably 10, 15 years, right, of a development process that leads to the gentrification of our community. Take, for example, what we did at the Pearl. Everybody absolutely, Pearl, fantastic, world-renowned, great spot, nationally recognized, bastion of design and fantastic. There ain't a human, 99% of us can't afford to live in the Pearl area anymore. Dignity Hill, Government Hill, down to Denver Heights, down into, where the Tobin Center is, all that priced out of affordability for your regular average Joe, 99% of us in the city of San Antonio. So the city's development policy, when they go in and they start incentivizing builders and all these other groups, which is fine. Look, we need to build, we need to grow, we need to incentivize. I'm not saying don't do those things.
But do we need to grow though? I mean,
we need to grow. We do need more housing opportunities for people. The problem is when we go do it, Eric, the people who are around these areas are priced out of life, right? And oftentimes they're older homes, older citizens, fixed income, paying property taxes. Like if we're going to make a decision to go in and incentivize and build this massive 300 tower luxury suite condo, we're going to raise everybody's property taxes around it. We should be freezing property taxes in any area that's suffering or facing gentrification. We should protect older senior citizens and longtime property owners from any gentrification outreach that occurs as a result of city growth. Then we have to spread some of that growth too. A lot of the policy of the city has been focused on downtown. That's why you see places like Denver Heights about to be unaffordable for people who've lived there 40, 50 years. In fact, it probably already is. And all these areas seem to seep. The people who get gentrified are the people that need the most, that have the least, in our community, need the most help. We have to think about that, the seniors and all these other community folks. So look, property taxes, homes are usually overpriced anywhere between 15 to 20%, right, in home ownership. You know it when you see it, your property taxes, you can't sell your house for what Bexar County is appraising it for. So we have to work on that. We have to get the chief appraiser in line to make sure it's not fun and it's not a contest to see how many people you can sue. We have to streamline the process. We have to make greater homestead exemptions. We have to reduce the property taxes when and where we can. But if that doesn't happen, we're going to continue to lose long-standing neighborhoods and communities. So I think there's a great conversation to be had about how we freeze and hold property taxes, not just for homeowners, but for businesses as well. As we come back out of this pandemic, people need to hire. Commercial property taxes also need to be held. But that means as a city, we need to monitor and watch our spending as well.
Well, and the homestead exemption, really didn't do much. I mean, in reality, if you look at it, we have the lowest lowest one in the country, but also all Bexar County Appraisal doing is they're just reevaluating your property or your house, and it's just going up and up and up, and but nobody's fighting their property taxes too, and that's why I think it's important for people to know that you can protest your property taxes. You should protest your property taxes every single year to try to keep it manageable for right now.
Yeah, and look, the appraisal system, I mean, I've heard the chief appraiser. He prides himself on the number of cases he goes to court with. Like it's, it doesn't reflect a system that protects homeowners. Property values are out of control. While I was on council, I moved twice to try to lower the property tax rate to start some conversation about reducing property taxes. I lost those votes both times. In fact, Clayton Perry and I voted to reduce the property tax rate. It was 2-9. We lost both years in 2017 and 2018. So look, a lot of problems surround property taxes that belong to the state of Texas, but we control things locally. That's how we build, where we build, who we incentivize, how we stop local collection of property taxes, and making sure that those incentives and the items also allow for people to say, hey, look, it's great. We built a tower downtown and we incentivized units like $250,000 per unit. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. We give companies like Credit Human $6 million or so, I remember what it was, to move 2 miles to the Pearl. Like, why are we incentivizing multi-million-dollar companies to move a mile or two? It's just ridiculous. Like, where our incentives are going from a development perspective, frankly, need to be spread out. I fought for that while I was on city council to force a change into, we should be incentivizing small business owners. We should be incentivizing hire back programs no matter what, on the south side, the west side, places who don't see. We gave literally, I kid you not, it was like $6 million worth of incentives to a bank to move 1 mile. I like them. They're great. That's fantastic. Credit Human's a good local credit union. But seriously, why are we doing it? We gave USAA money. Look, if you're part of San Antonio and our culture, why are you taking incentives to move to the highest priced real estate in the city? That's your choice. That's your choice, billionaire. The choice that you made to move to the Pearl. It ain't our choice, and we shouldn't be incentivizing it. So I think we got to be careful. My concern is not the business. We'll help the business owners where we can, as long as they do things that matter, like that they hire people at appropriate wages and they do things. We have to hold their feet to the fire. But we need to make sure we protect residents who are on those edges that don't have the ability to suffer increases in their real estate costs. And as mayor, that's what we have to do.
Yeah, definitely. Marie says these infrastructure problems go back further than the current administration. San Antonio has had no emergency plan in place, no contingency plans in place ever, and it's not the result in the past 2 to 4 years. If we're going to blame city officials, then let's blame every city official that has ever held office.
Yeah, she brings up a fair point. The problem with Marie, I don't disagree with you. The issue where I would tell you though is these catastrophic storms, like what we saw here in the last 10 days. The city knew about that 14 days in advance. So you can say, well, we should have had plans in place, and anybody who's ever held office or worked at the city's accountable for that. I don't disagree with that. I think, there could be a conversation to be had about holding Julian Castro accountable for what happened last week. We can do that. That's a fair point. And Julian Castro maybe spent too much time worrying about being president than trying to take care of San Antonio. So it's on his shoulders too, I suppose, with that argument. But what I would tell you is it's probably not applicable to go back and hold all these previous people accountable. What we deal with is in the moment right now. The city knew there was enough information out there that the severity of the storm was going to dump 3 to 7 inches of snow. We knew that in advance. We knew it was going to drop into the teens. This is well advertised and known information 10 to 14 days before the storm actually hit. No preparedness. So Marie brings up a great point. Be prepared. And she's absolutely right. That could have happened every year for the last 50. Proactive contingency plans in place matter. But the truth is, in this particular situation, it was absolute silence. The city was ill prepared to get it done. They knew it was coming, Marie. They knew it was going to happen 10 days before. They didn't have one single warming shelter set up. They didn't have VIA buses ready to run as mobile warming stations and mobile Wi-Fi spots. They didn't have any of it. And it was a total miss. And the city hall has basically said, well, you know what? They didn't tell us it was going to be this bad. We all knew it was going to be this bad. I don't know about you, but I was buying firewood. I was prepping, man. My bathtub. I mean, we were like, what the heck is going on here? The news was overwhelming the days before that this was going to be a polar vortex storm.
And the frustrating thing though is that people told me that they got their information from me, like that were following me. They got it from me rather than from the city. And that's not good because
it's not good. It's a total failure. I mean, trust me, they'll communicate with you quickly to tell you to stay home for coronavirus, right? Like you got a text message, stay home, don't celebrate Christmas. Okay, but you just had the Canelo Alvarez fight. What do you mean stay home? How could you, so they were able to text out emergency alerts to tell people, hey, stay home, don't celebrate Christmas, don't celebrate New Year, all this other stuff. And then they turn around and don't say a word about this massive storm that's about to hit. By the way, as the storm was progressing Monday into Tuesday, still no word. The city didn't stand up a warming station until 3 days into the cold. And then they let us know at 5 p.m. that they were starting it. The buses stopped running at 7 p.m. Come on, man. I mean, total breakdown of failure, and we'll make that clear over the course of time.
The pre-K for SA, I know that was a.
I do believe at this point pre-K for SA. The last election, I didn't really make a big fuss or oppose it. I was more concerned about workforce. And the VIA tax, I just felt like they didn't make a lot of sense, and it was too long term. Like giving VIA their 1/8 cent sales tax 4 years or 5 years from now, it just didn't make any sense to me. Why are we voting to tax ourselves in the future? Look, pre-K for SA, as long as they bring in reasonable metrics and show success with the dollars, this is a program that's in place. Once you put something in place and the voters approve it, it just needs to be held accountable to the facts. And I think pre-K for SA earned their vote, and we just need to sit there and support them where we can. I think they can get better with the dollars. I think they need to make sure that they stop buying and wasting resources wherever possible. I mean, that accountability needs to be there, but the public has spoken loud and clear on that. When it initially came out, I was a little, I was skeptical of it because I'm like, should the city be in the business of charter school education? But the public said yes. So I don't have any problem with it. I think we just need to make sure the dollars are managed effectively.
Right.
And in the effective management of those dollars, it goes to the kids. High quality food, high quality education. And we just hold them accountable to it. The public spoke loud and clear. So I'll continue to support it and make sure that it's managed appropriately as mayor.
Awesome. And I don't want to cut into too much of your time, but so I'll wrap it up.
I'm okay for right now. I'll tell you when it's almost
okay. David Moore says there's a measure on the ballot, on the May ballot, to allow city council that would allow the mayor and city council to pass bond measures without citizen vote.
Yeah, I think Dave's so the measure would allow for bond dollar usage for housing and other things like that. It's not going to allow for bonds that aren't city voter approved. That's not how it's going to be worded.
Okay.
Anytime there's a bond, it has to go to a public vote when you're using the bonding entity. Now, they could use different funds like certificates of obligation. So there's different types of debt mechanisms that City Hall utilizes. People don't know this, that they don't have to go to a public vote. And those are tens of millions of dollars where they call them C of O's, certificates of obligation. And those are the sneaky ones that people don't know about that we're taking debt down. But if it's a bond vote that happens every 5 years, that's where we want to open up. People want to use housing bond dollars. It will go to a public vote. So no, you has to go to a public vote.
All right. We'll take, if you have one more question, anybody that would like to jump in, we can take one more question, or you can submit a question in the comments. I have the link down below in the comments. I do want to ask you, change of pace. What are your 3 favorite small business restaurants in San Antonio?
Man, why didn't you ask me these up front? Instead, I got right on into the SAT. Oh man, we went straight for the judge.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. Look, I love Papa's Burgers, District 6. Robert Walker and Papa's Burgers. It is the best burger. I think he literally advertised that he's the number 3 burger in the nation. His burgers are fantastic.
He's running for city council too.
Oh, he is running in District 6.
Yeah.
But his burger is the mayor of burgers in San Antonio. So the dude's burger is fantastic. Papa's Burgers. And then I'm truly addicted to Tinka Taco on Calabria 410. I just eat there all the time. It's like a little office for me. The people that work there are fantastic, and I love them. And then I always fall back on any Los Barrios restaurant available. I try to make it over there. And it used to be the old Mexican Manhattan as well, but that's gone now.
No.
And so the smaller ones for me really is Papa's Burgers and Tinka Taco and Acadiana.
Okay. All right.
Good question.
And then one last question. Gabriel says, how would you lead the council and bring the members together on the daily?
Yeah, so Gabriel Gregory running for District 10. So, yeah, look, Gabriel, one of the first things, we talked about this earlier. I think he may have missed this part. I have a 4-point overall plan that I'm working on, sure. And Gabriel, this is what I said earlier. Day one into the job is about building a team. If you notice something about the current setup of our city council, you have a mayor who's never with any other council member. Don't take it. Okay, say, Brockhouse is just playing politics. No, go look. Anytime he's out there, right, if he's having his daily COVID briefing, there's never council members with him. I guess he showed up over the weekend handing out some water with Dr. Garcia and Shirley Gonzalez. So, I mean, maybe he did it over the last weekend, but for the most part, if you watch the mayor, never council members with him. It's always a go-it-alone leadership strategy all by himself. That has to change. I think what you have to do is, and the first thing is bring 10 people together, bring the mayor, all 11 folks, Gabriel, and you sit down and you say, this is our game plan. This is how we're going to work together. This is how we're going to disagree. This is how we're going to handle conflict. Votes will always decide in the end. We will not be in lockstep, but you will always have a voice. As mayor, I'll work in every council district. I will go everywhere in this city. There are places in the city he's not seen our mayor, and he's been there for 4 years. It's unacceptable. You have to work into so all 10 districts have 10 separate needs and plans. So I would be working my tail off, pouring my heart and soul into making sure that every council member had what they felt was best for their district. And then I would lead an entire city message and an outreach across the entire country, sure. But for our piece as individual council members, full-on support. What is your wish list? How do I help you keep your job, council member, by helping you do your job? What are the things I need to do to be with you? And if there's crises and things that are challenging us as a city, share that responsibility and accountability. Go back to Katrina. You remember Katrina with Phil Hardberger was mayor. Every time you saw Phil Hardberger out there, he was leading with other people with him. Alicia Herrera, other council members, took the lead on issues and said, this is our city. The team gave us that. We don't have that at City Hall. It's broke, it's silent, and it's by himself. That's how the current mayor operates. I'd go the exact opposite and spend every hour I could in the community making it happen. And that's a good question. And it's not that we vote together there's nothing worse to me than an 11-0 vote. Like all that tells me is, did we do the best we could, or did we all just hop in line and decide, oh, this is fantastic, let's go? There's nothing wrong with 5-6, you lose. There's nothing wrong with 6-5, 7-4 votes. You have to disagree. If you're not having conflict or disagreeing at City Hall, I want people to think about this. All 10 of these districts have different needs. What matters in District 2 doesn't work in District 6. What matters in District 10 doesn't make sense for District 4. So 11-0 votes and everybody hunky-dory and voting all along all the time, fantastic. We have to be disagreeing on stuff, and that conflict is okay. And I'd promote that and make sure that we fought to make sure every district had what was specific to them. And we don't have that at City Hall.
Well, I mean, if you disagree, though, you also have to have solutions. You know what I mean? So I think that could be lacking as well in City Council is there may be a disagreement, but what are the solutions that's bringing that to the table, you know?
No, I agree. It's not enough to say, hey, we haven't had streets and infrastructure for 40 years. This is terrible. And then not turn around and say, how am I going to fund an infrastructure management plan that gets streets down Old Highway 90, redesigned? I mean, you have to understand that you can call out the system. That's the purpose of campaigns. That's the people get all upset. Like people are all upset. Well, and I've seen it in comments, and look, I'm a public figure. I get it. I'm going to get challenged. People are going to tell me what they really think. It's crazy, man. They say everything.
Yeah.
But look, you got to sit there and you got to take it. You have to take it. That's part of the job. But you can't also turn around and then say, well, you know what? If you don't do exactly what I say, no, man, people, we may not be together on one issue today, but we could be together on another issue tomorrow. And no individual district has a monopoly that they have the right answer for the entire city. What's good in one part of town doesn't work for the other. I'm here to tell you, I've lived my entire life in this city, and that's how it works. And each district is individual, and you have to take that level and that depth of action on it. So somebody puts up, I stand with Marie for District 5 emergency preparations in months. Yeah, I can't. Tanika? Yeah, she came in and made that comment right now. Sorry, I have to put my glasses on and off. I apologize. But, we're getting near the end of it. I'll wrap up if you don't mind. And if someone has a question, let me know.
One more question. Would you be willing to look into, and I know you can't do it yourself, but look into possibly changing our election system to ranked choice voting? Has that ever interested you to change our election system?
No, I don't think so. I like the way our election system works. I still believe in a nonpartisan voting environment, and even though politics is so divisive and partisan, I strive to. I like our political system. And what I don't like is that people don't participate in it. But I think that's because of the government themselves. Like, there's no incentives to vote. I mean, you don't believe or trust in the government that they're going to help you over time. Some people say, oh, San Antonio's a bunch of lazy voters, 12% average turnout. How ridiculous are these people? They don't even take the time to care about their community. The truth is that over 30, 40, 50 years, people got sick of City Hall. They got sick of not being heard, the streets not being done, and they stopped showing up on us. The turnout at 12 or 15% speaks more to the lack of engagement of City Hall than it does to the lack of engagement of a voter. They've given up. They don't care because they don't think we care at City Hall. That includes me. So one of the things I think we want to do as leaders is try to ramp up. I mean, some cities have gone insane, man. They're through the roof. They're coming up with ideas like, hey, can we make sure we limit the amount of public dollars? Can we help publicly finance campaigns? There's all these ideas out there on how you increase voter turnout. Right. The bottom line is, in San Antonio, people don't trust City Hall, and they don't think they're going to get anything done, and they gave up. So that's going to require us to go door to door and restore and regain trust. And I think that's it's a great question that often doesn't get asked in these campaigns. And I think the system thrives on few people voting.
Yeah, but the thing with ranked choice voting, though, that would eliminate a huge portion of amount of money that's coming in from taxpayer money, which for runoff elections, right? So ranked choice voting would eliminate runoff elections like the one you and Ron had, because you would actually end up having all the votes end up tallying up. So the thing is that's $8-10 million that you don't have to spend on a runoff election that gets even less people to turn out for those votes. You know what I mean?
Well, it's the opposite of 2019. Ron and Nuremberg and myself. Oh, I said his name, man. Dude, I made it the whole way after you asked. You set me up. So our turnout actually went up in our runoff election considerably. But look, I like our system. My concern is not the system itself. And I mean, yeah, voter fraud, sure, we can get a little bit better, make sure mail ballots are taken care of. There's always these things on the edges we can do better as a voting community and our process and system and all that. We do. We have to be better at it. We have to be careful. The bottom line is the bigger problem is why people don't believe in us and why they don't come out and vote. And it's not because they're lazy people or citizens who don't care. It's because the government stinks and we're not getting it done, and we favor the wealthy. And in favoring the wealthy and the people who get the incentives and the same 15 people leading the city, which it's true, it's the same people running the city all the time. And and it's just this lineage, like it's like we're talking a monarchy or something, gets handed around in the same group of people. And it's time we really change that. And I think we're moving towards that as a city. There's different faces. There's 83 people running for office, and it's going to require us to really challenge ourselves. And look, it's going to require people to challenge me. I mean, I got a particular set of views, but this I'll tell you about me and anybody who's worked with me. It's one thing to say, oh man, this guy's the devil. He's gonna upend this or do this. He's not gonna. No, man. What I will tell you is you will always have a seat at the table with me, and I will talk to you, visit with you, and sit down with you. And frankly, you may change my mind on issues. I'm willing to shift and move if arguments make sense, if they're in the best interest of the community. These black and white decisions, I think San Antonio, and I'll start to close with this. I think we're oftentimes in our local politics being faced with these decisions that are false choices. Like it's one or the other. Mm-hmm. Like it's either one or the other. You're either with me or against me. I mean, and you either love police officers or you hate them. You either want to have police reform or you want to defund this. I mean, it's these false choices. Like you have to have one or the other. It's so ridiculous. And it's because we avoid these tough conversations, and a very small percentage of the people are making the decisions. I'll challenge everybody who challenged me in here. People are asking for your vote who are directly responsible for the problems they created that you're concerned about. Ron Nirenberg is supported by Phil Hardberger, by Julian Castro, the same cabal, right? He's supported by Henry Cisneros. These people, the same people that supported Julian Castro, Julian Castro before. I mean, this long lineage of people over the last 40 years that have created the exact same problems. They're asking, all of a sudden, every election, they pop up and say, well, we have the same answers. If there's special committees, it's the same people that show up. It's the same people running CPS Energies, the same people running SAWS. And we get the same results. So what I would tell you is I know I don't have the answers, right? And I ran a tough campaign in 2019. We got there. We were very close. We almost won. And I learned a valuable lesson. And the lesson out of that is, yeah, I can't get it done on my own. And I don't have the answers. And I'm willing to listen and change. The problem with the community, though, is that I don't think a lot of us have that belief and trust in the government. They don't have it in people. They don't have it in politicians. And we got to somehow or another get past that. And I also have to say, like to the Fix SAPD people and all these other folks, we can have a tough discussion, but we should sit down and talk about it. I'd be more than willing to. And I'd be more than willing to say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I believe. You may not like it. And the ballot box may dictate at the end of the day on May 1st who wins that conversation. But let's not give up on each other just because one of us loses on May 1st. If I become mayor, the Fix SAPD initiative fails, does that mean we've thrown each other to the dogs? It's over? We're not going to work together? No. So if BLM, Fix SAPD, they want me to come in, they want to sit down and talk with me, let's do it. Please, Ananda, make it happen. Text me, message me. Let's sit down and talk about it. Help me be a better candidate. I'm fine with that. Tell me where you think on the edges I'm wrong. And if you think I'm completely out of control, go ahead, say it. Let's have the conversation. But at the end of the day, be prepared for me to give it right back as well, which is this is what I think, this is what I defend. And these relationships, we've seen some of them in the comments like, oh, he's friends with this person or that person. What's wrong with being friends with people we disagree with? Like Mohammed Rasul is a wonderful man. He's a great father. His wife is a fantastic community activist. They are wholeheartedly behind Fix SAPD. They are not going to vote for me. They've been as clear as possible that they don't support my agenda. I think they're damn good people. They're fantastic. They got a great family and they work hard. We're going to have a disagreement on May 1st on a vote. We're going to go toe-to-toe on the issue. And then I will go have lunch with him. If he wins, he wins. If I win, I win. If the public, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
You argue with your family at Thanksgiving anyway.
Yeah. My point is that's how quick it goes. That's how it immediately becomes, well, somebody was on Facebook the other day and mentioned to somebody, another activist who's on the other side of the issue I am, said, why do you talk to Greg and Annalisa Brockhouse? How dare you? And it's like, because they're human beings. We don't agree on the issue. So therefore, because Greg has a belief, his entire family, his wife, all of them are dogs. That's what she implies. She goes, you lie with dogs. And my question was, I've got 5 kids, one at Texas Tech, one at Northwestern, one joined the Navy. Our kids are amazing. My wife has been a teacher for 14 years, special needs in education, fantastic mother. I've served my country. We're not dogs because we don't agree with you or we disagree. Come on.
Yeah.
If you're going to come to the argument, come with some ideas and some issues and let's talk about it. But to immediately say I can't associate with somebody because they're a Democrat or they're a Republican or they believe this or they voted for that, so therefore their entire life and existence needs to be canceled. It's absolutely ridiculous, Eric. So that's not what I'll do. And Ananda calls me on the carpet for it. She's exactly right. Equal time for people is a must, and I promise we'll do that. I will sit down with people who believe the complete opposite. My challenge to them is, will they sit down with me? Like that's the point, right? You talk a game on the political side. You say, well, Greg Brockhouse, he just needs to be canceled completely. But you've never sat down with me. You never talked to me. You never said, this is what I believe. You never showed me your facts. Who's doing the injustice to our community if we don't have the dialogue? So I'll leave it with that. I love, as you can tell, the debate. I love the conflict. I think it's good for us to challenge each other. And I hope we can do that in a constructive manner and way. And I think we'll do, San Antonio is going to survive no matter what. It's a fantastic city. And look, the end of the day, if I'm mayor on May 2nd, I am. If I'm not, I'm not. It's not the end of my life. I'm giving it everything I've got. I've stood up and I'm back. And I was right there in 2019. And in me, it's a faith thing. If it's God's will, I get there, it's God's will. If it's not, I have to do my part, work hard, be a good human being, try my best to tell people what I think and never give up. And that's what I'll do. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Doesn't mean I'm any less of a San Antonian or a human being because I win or lose.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, Greg. I appreciate you coming on, taking the time, and just answering these questions. And sorry we didn't get to those restaurant questions at first.
Right at me on Fix SAP. It's okay. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, everybody, for watching. And again, if you want to sponsor this, please let me know. My Cash App's down there. Sponsoring will help us continue this because I'm reaching out to every single candidate. Everybody should have a say and should be able to speak their platform. And that's what I'm doing.
Hold on, real quick. Phil Michalski. This guy's hilarious. Okay, we gotta mention this one. What are the lift specs on your Tundra? I love my Tundra, and it is a 7-inch lift. I'm not gonna lie. But Phil, thank you for that question. And that's proof positive right there. Phil and I may not agree on some issues, but we agree on that. So I said out there. Good way to wrap up.
All right, Greg. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining. And thank you, Greg, for your time. I appreciate it. Good luck.
Take care, brother.
Oh, actually, real quick, how can people get a hold of you? How can people help you or whatever?
So you can call and text me, and I hope you do. I got to make sure my phone is charged. But I've been running that thing like crazy. So 210-973-0591. That's my cell phone. Text me, shoot me a message, and just be kind. But if you got to send me something, do what you got to do. But my phone number, you can reach out and let me know, and I'll do that. You can give me a Greg at gregbrockhouse.com. That's my email address as well. And you can check out my website at gregbrockhouse.com. My Facebook page is the Brockcast SA. And you could join me there. I'd love, even if you just listen to what I'm saying and put it out there over the next couple of weeks. But best way, just shoot me a text.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Greg. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we are out.